Through the ages, our great nation has been littered with power-mad kings.
Who told you that?
Bloodthirsty queens.
I'm gonna knock your block off.
And the odd nutty prince. And in that time, one dastardly dynasty has managed to survive on their wits, craftiness, and the odd cunning plan.
A man may fight for many things. His country, his principles, his friends, the glistening tear on the cheek of a golden child. But personally, I'd mud wrestle my own mother for a ton of cash, an amusing clock, and a sack of French porn.
Hurrah!
It's 25 years since Blackadder burst onto our screens and blew away its comedy rivals. Tonight, we're celebrating this monumental, multi-award-winning sitcom in all its magnificent glory.
You've really worked out your banter, haven't you?
No, not really. This is a different thing. It's spontaneous, and it's called wit.
25 years of Blackadder. First of all, it's very depressing that it's 25 years ago that we started doing it.
You know, I do remember whistling on the way to work. It was very good fun to sit in the room and try and make each other laugh.
Blackadder was tremendously enjoyable from the point of view of a shared responsibility, the fact that it's not all on your shoulders.
I think I just feel lucky, you know. You do your best that you can in your 20s to try and do the thing that you think is funniest. And it's a fluke and a miracle if it turns out that the one that you wrote has lasted.
I was nearly 40 when we did the first episode of Blackadder. It transformed my career and my life.
You made Baldrick a lord.
It made household names of its stars. Tony Robinson has made archaeology cool in the UK. Stephen Fry is now the most well-respected actor, writer and all-round clever clogs on telly today.
I've just had another brilliant thought.
Hugh Laurie has become one of the most famous faces on American TV with House. And Blackadder himself, Rowan Atkinson, is the most recognisable comedian in the world. It also brought together two of today's most celebrated comedy writers, Ben Elton and Richard Curtis, who've since gone on to conquer the stage and screen.
He shot my pigeon!
I've only just started watching it again because my kids are sort of 9 and 7 and they're really loving it. And I'm reminded, particularly in terms of the performances, I actually wrote to Stephen the other day about Melchett just because I couldn't believe I knew how good it was, but it just was even better.
Tonight, we reveal the exclusive inside story of Blackadder from the comedy greats who made this must-see TV.
You twist and turn like a twisty-turny thing. I say you're a weedy pigeon, and you can call me Susan if it isn't so.
I do remember inventing the line, you twist and turn like a twisty-turny thing. And since then, it has become a kind of comedy staple to do that.
First, I'm going to have a little drinking, and then I'm going to execute the whole ballet lot of you.
I think I thought of her as somebody with too much too soon. You know, far too young.
Lucky us. lucky luck.
Ben and Richard had written some fantastic jokes and some great opportunities to shout and pull faces, which is sort of what I do, or what I did at the time. I've moved on since then. Oh, yes, I've grown.
This epic sitcom spanned a decade and brought 500 years of British history right into our sitting rooms. Edmund Blackadder has been a medieval prince,
Hooray!
a pompous peer,
Get stuffed.
a royal pain of a butler,
Ta-da!
and a conniving captain.
We're in the stickiest situation since Sticky the stick insect got stuck on a sticky bun.
He's an absolute bully to the people below him and sucks up to the people above him.
He was a guy who was out for all he could get. He was sort of on the make. He was a cynic.
It's a modern person in the stupidity of ancient times.
That it be.
Yes, it is, not that it be.
They all had in common a belief, a strong belief, almost raised to the pitch of religiosity, that their skin and their well-being was more important than that of anybody else.
Tell me, Edmund, do you have someone special in your life?
Well, yes, as a matter of fact, I do.
Who?
Me.
And let's not forget his smelly, turnip-loving sidekick called Baldrick.
Your brain, for example, is so minute, Baldrick, that if a hungry cannibal cracked your head open, there wouldn't be enough inside to cover a small water biscuit.
Tony Robinson was so great in Blackadder, just so dead pan.
Name? Baldrick. First name?
I'm not sure.
You must have some idea.
Well, it might be sod off. I've never been offered a comic character on television since that in any way matches up to the comic potential of Baldrick.
We go behind the scenes with exclusive rehearsal footage of the supremely clever Blackadder team at work.
On the contrary, George, we've had plenty of orders. We've had orders for 6 meters of Hungarian crushed velvet curtain material, 4 pilo rice,
and 1 chicken tikka masala.
And 4 pilo rice and 1 chicken tikka masala, and a cab for a Mr. Redgrave picking up from 14 Arnos Grove, ring top bell.
With the passing of the years, and any sort of anguish or difficulty or tiredness or, you know, panic, frequent panic, has sort of melted away, and all I can remember was all the jokes, you know, and the fact how much fun it was to do.
And we relive those memorable scenes that marked Blackadder out as one of Britain's best-loved comedies.
This book, sir, contains every word in our beloved language.
Every single one, sir?
Every single word, sir.
Oh, well, in that case, sir, I hope you will not object if I also offer the Doctor my most enthusiastic contrafibularities. Contrafibularities, sir? It is a common word down our way.
Coming up, a unique insight into how Blackadder was born.
Fawlty Towers seemed so perfect to us at that point that the idea of writing a modern sitcom was too demoralising.
How it nearly never made it to a second series.
Michael Grade had just become controller of BBC One, and he'd taken a look at what was on commission, and he obviously decided he didn't want the Blackadder.
And how one of the greatest comedy writing partnerships was created.
As far as I know, they never wrote a line together in the same room. Is that Ben would write 3 of each series, and Richard write the other 3, and then they'd swap them over and change about 84% of each other's work.
So stay tuned for the exclusive story of Blackadder in all its rotten glory.
Very amusing.
"25 years after its debut, Blackadder is now the most successful historical sitcom ever. And this tale of skullduggery began in 1979, when 2 Oxford University students, Richard Curtis and Rowan Atkinson, met.
I saw this little advert in a university newspaper saying, you know, we're thinking of getting a comedy review together, you know, meetings at University College at a certain time. So I thought I'd beetle along because I felt as though I had an interest. And Richard was there. He was one of the sort of 6 or 8 of us who used to meet every Thursday evening or something to plan a show, which we then did at the Oxford Playhouse.
First time I met Rowan, I thought he was a piece of furniture. He didn't say anything at all for 2 hours. And then the first time I saw him perform, it was instantly clear that he was a real genius.
My daughter could not have chosen a more delightful, charming, witty, responsible, wealthy, let's not deny it, well-placed, good-looking, and fertile young man than Martin as her husband. And I therefore ask the question, why the hell did she marry Gerald?
first time I saw Rowan was one of the great moments of my life. I don't mince my words. I was a young Radio 2 producer doing a show called Late Night Extra, and every year we used to go to the Edinburgh Festival and cover the shows there. And me and a young sound recordist called John Whitehall went to see what was billed as the Oxford Review, which I understood originally had 6 or 8 undergraduates in it, but Rowan had decided that they weren't terribly funny, but Richard Curtis was funny, and so the two of them ended up doing the review on their own. And then several years later, when I was starting Not the 9 O'Clock News, obviously he had to be the man.
His timing is the thing that makes it superb. He could time something musically, a mime or an attitude, or there'd be a flicker in his face that would turn something that would be seemingly not very funny, someone playing a scale, into something hilarious.
He is the rubber-faced clown that we all used to call him at that time. He has a kind of feline physicality about him, which I've never seen reproduced by any of our other comics. Rowan just creates a whole bizarre, weird world.
The Comedy Performance of the Year winner, Mr. Rowan Atkinson.
With the 26-year-old's career climbing, Rowan Atkinson, accompanied by Richard Curtis, turned his hand to the British comedy staple of sitcom.
The reason we wrote Blackadder was because of Fawlty Towers. Fawlty Towers seemed so perfect to us at that point that the idea of writing a modern sitcom was too demoralising. So the first thing I did was try and write a detective sitcom. I thought it would be quite fun to do something which had a real plot, where there was a murder or something like that, so it wouldn't be an incident in a domestic situation, but would have some kind of extra dimension to it. I couldn't make that work. And so the next thought to try and avoid this almighty shadow of Fawlty Towers was to do something set back in history.
The first script that I saw, King Edmund and His Two Friends, I thought was very soft and a bit sentimental. I couldn't see the point of it, really. My sort of contribution, if I might call it that, was to try and say this should be set in real history, so that you've never heard of Blackadder or Baldrick, but you've heard of all the people around them. So that's why the first series was set in this mythical piece of forgotten history between Richard III and Henry VII. And I think they got the title Blackadder not from Dr. Blackadder, the BBC doctor, as he sometimes likes to claim, but from, I think it was The Black Knight of Falworth, which was a Tony Curtis movie.
It was those sort of medieval Hollywood-type movies that seem to have the word black or the colour red, the red badge of courage or whatever, you know, in front of it. And then, God knows where Adder comes from.
As I shall be known from now on, the Black Vegetable.
My lord, wouldn't something like the Blackadder sound better?
No. Wait. I think I have a better idea. What about the Blackadder?
Written by Curtis and Atkinson, The Blackadder hit our screens in 1983 and took us back to the bloody and debauched days of 1485 and medieval England to tell the tale of Prince Edmund, the first Blackadder.
What's his name? Edmund. Edna! Fight you with us on the morrow?
No, I thought I'd fight with the enemy.
I remember it being sort of loose. It was kind of big and sprawling. It looked incredibly extravagant. And it was exciting, actually. It was exciting to see people doing anything comic outside an ordinary sitting room with a sofa and 2 chairs.
You're not putting him anywhere near me, are you?
No, Uncle. He'll be somewhere amongst the rabble.
Oh, arrow fodder.
Precisely.
Yes. What a little bird.
One of the pleasures of the very first Blackadder was that it had Peter Cook in it, and that gave it a kind of blessing, as it were, from the original god of this kind of comedy. So to have him dying in the first episode is like a passing on, as it were, of the great comedy tradition.
Rowan had to be on his toes quite a lot because Peter wasn't really content with doing the lines as written on the page. He would there was quite a lot of improvisation going on. So Rowan had to get over his shyness quite quickly with Peter.
Frankly?
Yes?
Well, frankly, gosh, you look well.
Frankly what? Spit it out, you horrid little scabby reptile.
Well, frankly, everyone thought you were dead.
Well, frankly, I am.
We thought the funniest thing,